like a exercise to make sure that you get it. Because the central nervous system can be really bogged down. Who got that? Did y'all get that? This first group? For your group project? Yes. Okay. A lot of it, isn't it? A lot of information. Okay. So, when you first start on chapter 53, like I said, try to read over it so that it makes more sense to you after we've talked about it too.
What pages?
It's in your syllabus for week 3, and it's under pages 1895 to 1902. Okay. The best way I did this, because I'm a list maker, I think in linear or in the outline form, you just have to kind of go through and make it make sense to you, okay? But the nervous system is broken down into lots of parts. It's just kind of a very complex thing. You remember the first day when we were talking about, I said the central nervous system to me, when we were talking about the parts of a house versus parts of the body, central nervous system is like your electricity, the wiring in your house, okay? It's responsible for communication, like messages, and controlling movement. So it not only brings in information like sensory, you feel stuff, but then it also can send out commands to your muscles to tell you to move, okay? It interprets, processes that information, and then decides what to do with it, and then tells the rest of your body what to do. All right? And it has to do it like that, like faster than we can even imagine, all day, every day, and then when we're sleeping. The neuron, that's the basic functional unit of the system. The basic functional unit of the system is the neuron, or the nerve cell, okay? So know that. And then it's broken up into different parts, and we're going to talk about it, and then we're going to do an exercise so you can see it in real time. So central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. Central nervous system is made up of two things, your brain and your spinal cord. Okay? It's very easy to remember. Central, because it's the central part of your body, midline. It's the brain and the spinal cord. And then you have the peripheral nervous system, which is everything else besides the brain and spinal cord. So think of peripheral. Peripheral means like your peripheral vision. It's around you, which you can see. It's on the outside. So that's what peripheral nervous system is. It's all those little nerves that feed off of your brain and spinal cord and go into the periphery, the rest of your body. Okay? And then the peripheral nervous system can be broken down into parts. Okay? You can do yours this way. If not, do it how you want it. It can be the somatic and the autonomic. Okay? Somatic and autonomic. When you have the somatic, that is getting information from the peripheral part of your body, like your fingertips, your toes, or wherever in your body, and it's sending that information back to the central nervous system, or back to the brain and spinal cord, by sensory neurons, or afferent neurons. Okay? So something, the little nerve ending in your fingers and your toes, they feel something. You stepped on something, you touched something hot, or something smashed your finger. Those little ends of those peripheral nerves say, ow, that hurts. They send the message. I better tell somebody. They send the message via a sensory, because you're feeling a sensation, to your brain and spinal cord. Brain and spinal cord processes it, said, okay, thank you for that. Almost like a text. You're getting that information in. And then it sends it back out via an efferent neuron, or motor neuron. Motor meaning move. So it says, okay, that does hurt. Let me tell you to move. So it sends back a message, like a return text, or a motor neuron, and it says, move your foot. That hurts. So you do. Your muscle contracts and you move. That's how it works, and it does it that fast. I did this last time in the last level, and one of the girls went home, and she was sitting outside smoking with her husband, and she reached over and tapped him with her cigarette, and she said, oh, it does work. So please don't do that again. I was like, good that you're learning, but please don't abuse your husband. But she gave him a burn. So that's kind of what the somatic is doing, okay? It's bringing information into the spinal cord and brain, and then your brain sends it back out. So that's your afferent and efferent system. Think of text messages. So afferent is coming in. That's a sensory, right? Sensory neuron. sensing it. And then efferent is going back out, telling something to move. So that's motor, because motor means move, okay? See that? And then you have the other branch of the peripheral, which is your autonomic. That's your involuntary stuff. What does involuntary mean? Yeah, we don't have to think about it. It does it on its own. That's your involuntary one. So like the brain and spinal cord are sending little signals out to your heart and your lungs to beat and breathe. We don't have to think about that, do we? It's involuntary. It's automatic. But something still has to be inside us working to tell those organs to do what they need to do. So that's what the autonomic nervous system is in charge of. Okay? Heart in your lungs maybe sends out to your glands, like pump out some adrenaline if you need it, stuff like that. It's not conscious. We don't have to think about it. So then smart people broke it down even more. Into the autonomic, you can have even more of a breakdown, okay? And we're going to go over all of this in a minute. Nope. You can get to the sympathetic and parasympathetic. And this is part of your autonomic. And para. I'm running out of... I'll make a little extra thing of this, okay? So the sympathetic is where, again, this is involuntary. Don't even have to think about it. That's your fight or flight. Rest or digest. It's the same thing. Fight and flight. Have y'all ever heard of that? Like these people you hear that they're in a car wreck, or they see a car wreck and they run over and they flip a car. A little 80-pound woman flips a car off of a kid. That is what's happening. Your body is processing it and knows something's wrong, and you get this surge of adrenaline, and you're able to flip that off, and not that way, flip a car off somebody. And that's the sympathetic, okay? That's your fight or flight. It knows there's danger, or say somebody's chasing you with a knife. You know that's danger, so your body tells your adrenaline to start kicking. Your legs move faster, you breathe faster, your heart beats faster, so you can get the heck out, right? You're fighting, staying in fight, or you're flighting. Okay? And the parasympathetic, so sympathetic speeds you up, right? That's your get up and go. That's fight or flight. And then parasympathetic, just like anything else, if you get real high, you got to have something to pull you back down, right? You got to have a low. So, do what? Oh, yeah, sorry. So the parasympathetic is what brings you back down. Your body cannot stay in that constant state of adrenaline rush. Our heart would blow up. It can't be beating 150 beats a minute for very long because it wears it out. So this parasympathetic system says, okay, the danger's over. Come back down. And so it releases hormones that pull you back down, back into a normal heart rhythm, back into a regular breathing rhythm, calms you down. Okay? Again, all of that is done involuntarily. We don't even have to think about it. It's back in the caveman days, it was a built-in defense mechanism. We knew some big thing was chasing us, our body pumped out adrenaline, and we took off. When we got to a safe place, and we knew we were safe, the parasympathetic pumped in, and we were like, okay, we're good. And that's how we survive. Okay? So the neuron is the functional unit of the cell, and then it has neuralgia. Those are also called glial cells, and I think it's in your book on one of these pages. It's like one of the very first parts. The glial cells produce cerebral spinal fluid, CSF. If you see CSF, that's cerebral spinal fluid. And that is like a fluid that circulates through our whole central nervous system, the brain and the spinal cord. Just like, remember when we were talking about we need fluid in our joints to keep our long bones from hurting and bumping against each other? You need CSF, or cerebral spinal fluid, to stay around your brain and your spinal cord. It's like a cushion, or like it's giving your brain and your spinal cord, it's just bathing them in nutrients. Protective thing, it provides nutrients, something we have to have. Spinal fluid. If you ever have had a spinal tap, or your babies had to have a spinal tap, that's what they're pulling out is CSF. It's the fluid that surrounds your brain and spinal cord. And glial cells, G-L-I-A-L, are what produce it. Okay? There's CS or neuralgia. There's also call this nerosity.
You said the CFS to sit around your brain and what?
Spinal cord. Okay. So, any questions so far?
Where's that added on blue?
What?
What page is that on in the blue?
18.
So, the CSF is around the brain and
Which
spine.
one are you talking about?
There you go, found it.
Got it?
Yeah, it's right there. CSF.
Okay, so let's review real quick. 'Cause this week is where we start really picking up the pace and we're starting to get into the true anatomy and things and physiology. It's just a lot. So I may repeat it multiple times because I feel like if you hear it enough, it's going to stick better. Okay? CNS stands for Central Nervous System, composed of brain is composed is made of brain and spinal cord. Peripheral nervous system has branches of the somatic and autonomic. Somatic is where you feel something and it sends it to the brain by a sensory neuron or afferent. And then what neuron tells you to move? A motor neuron or efferent, okay? Autonomic is involuntary. That branches down into your sympathetic, which is your fight or flight, that adrenaline rush, way to get out of danger. Increases heart rate, increases blood pressure, increases respiration. You're up. And then the parasympathetic is the one that pulls you back down so that you can rest. Okay? Okay. There's three main structures of a neuron cell. I think this is in your book on page 1896 too. It looks like a tree. Okay? Most cells, remember in our other unit we talked about cells were just kind of like a little blob. Well, neuron or nerve cells in the nervous system look a little bit different. Okay? They have these, looks like tree branches at the top. You see that? Those are dendrites. And they just are kind of like a tree in the wintertime. Have you ever seen them? They're all bare, but they're real scratchy. And so any kind of something, a bag or a piece of trash or a leaf that blows through gets trapped in it, right? Same kind of deal with this. It is collecting incoming information. So that's why it looks like that, because it's just like reaching out, wanting information, wanting those messages from the body. So that's what it does. It branches out and they receive the impulses or incoming information. The cell body is that kind of blue part, the little glob in the center there, just below the dendrites or at the center of the dendrites. And that just contains like its nucleus and its cytoplasm, just like any other cell. It's got to have a nucleus or a brain. And then the axon is that little bubbly tail part. You see that? It kind of looks like a beads. That's called the axon. That's what carries the impulses away from the body cell. So it comes in through the tree branches, the dendrites, collects that information. The cell body, the nucleus, processes it, and then it shoots out the message of what to do through the axon, the tail. Okay? It takes all that information away and is telling the body what to do. And those nerves make a string. They just connect until they have one long, huge string or a nerve. So know the three parts of the neuron cell, okay? Each cell is covered like in a stuff called myelin sheath. It's like a waxy material, kind of a white waxy material that covers those neurons. Why do you think it needs a cover? Protection or insulator. I think of like fiber optic lines or electrical cords. You know, they have that insulation on the outside because one, if we touched it, we'd get shocked, right? But so it's protecting the nerve from outside stimuli, but it's also protecting the outside stimuli from it, because then it would just burn something constantly, right? The reason it needs protection is because sheath. It's a thick, white, waxy material. When that myelin sheath, and you'll learn this later on, but when that myelin sheath starts deteriorating, that's when you get disease processes like myasthenia gravis, muscular dystrophy, things like that, because that is helping protect that nerve, and if that protection's gone, then those muscles can't get an impulse, so then they don't get to be used, and they deteriorate. So the myelin sheath is real important. Okay, like I said, those nerve cells that look crazy, these nerve cells, they can connect, and just one after another, you know, and have this long chain, and then it just keeps going and going and going, all right? The chain of neurons, when they connect, they have these little bubbles, you see on the tail? They're called nodes of Ranvier, and they can jump. Impulses can jump across those, making it go a lot faster. So, why do you think it's important for nerve conduction to go fast? Why does that matter, how fast it can go? Right. Do you want to keep your hand on there for 20 minutes and get a third-degree burn? No, you need someone to tell you really quick to get rid of it, okay? So these are the basic cells of the nervous system, like I said, and then the neuron is, and then it's got a cell body that has the nucleus in it, the axon, and the dendrite. And then the myelin sheath covers it for protection.
What did you say the node?
Nodes of Ranvier.
What is that? To make it faster. Oh.
When they're, we're going to do all this in a minute too. Oh, sorry. This part, you mean this last one? Oh. That one? Okay. So when they line up, you know, those little tail parts, that's the nodes. Okay? And this part's a node. And they're called nodes of Ranvier. And that's just because they're named after whoever figured it out. That's his name. I don't know why, but they just named it that. So instead of that impulse going all the way through, that electrical impulse can go boom, 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 boom. It can jump across those nodes so that it doesn't take as long. So like Sunny said, we can get our hand off the hot stove quicker, or we can get out of danger quicker. So that's the point of the nodes. They just speed everything up, okay? It makes that information jump fast, fast, fast. And the myelin sheath helps that too because it's insulating it and makes it go faster. And so when you line a bunch of these cells up, in between each cell, there is a space called a synapse. And that's in between each cell. And the synapse is just where those impulses are transmitted. And then when you get to the end of that chain, it's either going to be back to another nerve or back to a muscle. Let's say this is your leg muscle. So it's coming all the way from the central nervous system, the brain or spinal cord. It's jump, 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 jump. And it gets right here, and there's a gap in between the last neuron cell and the muscle. What's that one called? Anybody guess? Neuromuscular junction. Anybody heard that term before? Because neuro means nerve, muscular, muscle, junction. There's a little gap right there. And so why that's important is because in between all of those things, those neuromuscular junctions, there's chemicals called neurotransmitters that our body has naturally in us, and they help do different things that you'll learn about later. There's things like, some of them are epinephrine, you know, that speeds you up, gets you out of danger. Dopamine helps get your blood pressure back up. Serotonin, something that helps calm us down, gives us that feel-good feeling. Acetylcholine, those are all natural neurotransmitters that our body needs. And then when we don't have enough of those neurotransmitters, we scientists have figured out a way to make them chemically, and that's what some of the meds that we take. So in between each thing is just a synapse, it's a junction between each node. Then once it gets to the last nerve, and it's right there going up against the muscle, it's a neuromuscular junction. And that's where you find all your neurotransmitters. when you have this thing going on, we'll talk about in a minute, it's the all or none law. Remember this, your neurons are never going to go halfway. You know how sometimes you'll send a text, and you'll wait, and finally it says, text undelivered, or message not delivered. That never happens in the body. It's either all, sending it all to you, or none at all. It will not go halfway. So that's called the all or none law. Alright? Okay. Let's do this in real life, and I think this will make more sense to you. Okay? Who's the shortest person in here?
Raven.
Come on, Raven. Come on, that's so Raven. Who's the tallest person in here? Come on, you are for now. You're going to be the spinal cord, Shelby, and you're going to be the brain. Oh, those are cute. Now stand right here behind her, because this is the top of the body, right? And now we all on the back leg, and all over the feet. So cephalo, caudal, right? Head, toe. So put your hat on. The whole piece. I'll let you start with this one. So our brain and our spinal cord are our central nervous system, right? They're at the center.
Wait, I'm your spinal, right?
You're the spinal cord. Just hang on, brain. You're on autopilot right now. You're relaxing. So, the last time I did this, I kept snagging, and I was like, what is going on? Somebody had put a toothpick down in there. Like, gross, who does that? You're just chilling. You're not doing nothing. Now, the central nervous system is really cool because most of the time, our spinal cord can do everything by itself. It doesn't need. I'll give you yours last because I won't be able to get there. It doesn't need the brain most of the time. It can take in information, and it can send a command or motor neuron back. It doesn't have to have the brain. Okay? So guess what y'all are? What part of the nervous system are y'all? They're the peripheral nervous system. That's our head, our central nervous system, brain and spinal cord. Y'all are fingers, toes, elbows, part of the peripheral nervous system. Okay? You're all bringing these impulses back to the spinal cord from the peripheral nervous system. We're going to be the big toe. Yeah. That's okay. And they're all over. There's millions and millions and millions of them, all through our body. So this is our peripheral, right? All these strings. What is it? Is he trying to cook a fly? Okay. So let's just imagine if they're everywhere. Okay? It could be here all day. Just pretend like all y'all have one, right? Okay, so the brain and the spinal cord, they're doing their thing. The brain can most of the time just sit and relax. It's too busy. It doesn't have time to deal with all this. So it just sits and relaxes, and it lets the spinal cord take care of things. Spinal cord is complaining. I'm looking for my washers. Do y'all see my washers still there? Oh, I bet. Oh, it was over here. I had to move it. Okay. So on every nerve, because remember these are these little nerve cells or neurons making a chain all the way across, right? It's got the nose on it. Bump, 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 bump. It has these little messages that it can send. What's it called when it's sending it to the spinal cord? A-ferry or sensory. So our big toe here says what? Ow. No, you're saying ow. Ow. So now this afferent or sensory, because sensory means to feel, you're feeling it, so you're sending a message to the spinal cord saying, ow. My gout's hurting. My toe hurts, right? That's a sensory. You process it and go, okay, can tell him to move. I can tell him. So what's this one going back? Efferent or motor. Tell him, well, if your toe's hurting, move around a little bit. And so now the toe does what? Move around. Very good. Very good. Okay, so y'all see that? And it happens all the time. Let's do another one. Let's say, wait, sorry, let's say you just got stuck with a needle or something, skin, like a sharp object. Your finger. That hurts. What kind of neuron is this going in? Sensory or afferent. Sending a signal to the spinal cord.
Parent was the one that moved it.
It is, but right now she's just in. You don't even know what's going on with her yet. You haven't got your text message. Your text message that says, yeah, ow, that hurt. The message that came into you was hurt. Your message back to her is move. Yeah.
So that's the
Efferent in the back.
So motor.
Afferent's going in, efferent's going out. Afferent sensory, because you feel it, sensation, and then efferent is motor, meaning go back out,
So
move.
when does it go to the brain?
Ooh, good question.
Yeah.
You get to be a neuron. Very good.
I'm brain dead.
My brain's dead right now. Alright. Hold on. You're fixing to be up. You're on deck.
Big toe that hurt itself again.
Big toe needs to chill. Okay. You hold that one, sit on yours. Just don't trip. I'm not real graceful. Okay. Let's pretend like you're the heart. Okay. You're still the toe. Say, Monty, you're the lungs. Okay. Hold on. He's getting back there now. Your doubt is not our crisis right now.
It became gangrene.
You should have took your medicine. Okay, so the quick all that beer. Alright, so now everybody has one. Everybody that has a string have a washer? Okay, so now, most of the time, like I said, simple things like that, the spinal cord can handle it. She is chill, she's good, she can handle it. But now let's say you're going into a crisis. There's a big dog, and he's growling and angry and mad. He is chasing you, and he's fast, and you're not fast. And you know what? I'm going to get right up. So my fight or flight mode kicks in. What part of my nervous system is that? It goes down to sympathetic. Yeah. Automatically, your brain says, oh, there's something. Your eyes see it coming, your ears hear it coming, and your brain says, there's danger coming. But she's like, well, they hadn't sent me a signal yet. Nobody sent me a text.
Yeah.
So now, everybody send your washer at one time to the spinal cord. Woo! Lots of texts came in all at once, didn't they? Lots of messages.
Oh, Lord.
The heart's saying, oh my God. The lungs are saying, Lord, I can't breathe. Yes, that dog is coming quick. All of these messages just came in all at one time. What do you think that does to the spinal cord?
Overwhelmed.
Overwhelmed. Very good. She's like, that is not me. So guess what she does? She passes all of this information to the brain. You're not done yet. You got to be here. You just like, yeah. So you're just like, okay, this is too much. I can't do all of it on my own. So it passes all of that information to the brain. The brain is a little more complex, so it can handle more information at one time. So the brain says, okay, I got this. Fine. It tells the lungs to start moving fast, start breathing fast. It tells the heart, speed up, this dog's fixing to eat our ass up. It tells the legs and arms to start running. Go. Right? It's telling your big toe, I don't care if you got gout, move your ass. See what it says? See what it's doing?
dog, I be trying to get some.
Yep.
I ain't that fast I used to be, though.
Like, think about like saying that girl stuck her husband with a cigarette. I mean, that fast. I ain't that was fast. I'm like, I'm glad that you got the point, but don't hurt your husband in it. Because she wanted to see how fast it really was. Yep. Good job, y'all. I'm gonna go get that. I'm gonna go over it in a minute. We don't have much. This y'all didn't have to read much, so I'm pretty much just gonna, go over the terms that y'all need to know. But that concept is what you need to know because that comes into play later. When you start getting all that.
So the CNS is just that part,
Just fluid that surrounds the brain and spinal cord.
and that's it.
Yeah.
And the PNS is actually.
Peripheral is out of your system. So those are all the nerves that when you start tingling as a diabetic that has neuropathy, those nerves aren't working anymore. Something has gotten in the way to where it's not feeling the sensation anymore. In a diabetic, it's because they have poor blood flow down there. Because their veins are exposed, they're not getting blood to that tissue, so that tissue is dying. Those nerves aren't feeling anymore because it's dying. They need fresh blood. So same thing. Then those messages don't go back and forth anymore. Gotcha. Y'all were looking at me like, I could tell the panic was building.
It was.
I wish I could find some waffle balls so they didn't look like real cells. But I can't find any big enough. I found some little ones. I guess it's not waffle ball season. They had two small little holes that kept getting hung up on my string. I'm gonna go get some water in y'all's chest and then we'll finish up.
Our lunch hour, if we are staying here on campus and we are in this room for study, or is it for us to sit? Because I got yelled at for talking during lunch, and I want it to be clear, if you need to study, do you need to be in the room, or?
Well, we have a break room for students.
Okay.
So if you want to talk and
Okay.
sit, that's what that's for.
Awesome.
Talk, sit, eat, there's TV in there.
Right.
So if you're not into studying, I would suggest go there,
Okay,
because that's what that's for, is a break.
right,
Most of the time, we try to encourage people to be studying if they're in the classroom, simply because you're here, you've got all your resources, and it's usually a quiet place. A student can't go to the break room and study because it's a break room. So just like if a student went to the break room and said, hey, I need y'all to be quiet, I'm trying to study, would that be fair to you who's in there wanting to have a break? Who was watching porn? Boring! Oh, okay. Channels like going on. But yeah, I mean, it's just, I can't multitask. I get too distracted with that kind of stuff.
I not saw what she did, but now the terminology to put on top of what she did, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, I know the A fair is a sincerity.
I just seen all of them rush outside.
Brain hurts. My brain hurts. I just have a headache from that test. I wish we could have our test to see what we put, because that was a lot of questions. Because I want to, see.
Some parts on that list did not understand.
I know I got at least 4 or 5 wrong.
There was some of them that was not, that we didn't understand.
Yeah, I went and I answered all the ones I knew for sure.
Yeah, that's the ones I knew
Without
first.
a doubt. And then I went back. So I went back for like 18 or something.
Yeah.
Oh. I'm not
I'll go
even
I remember she just said covers for protection, but what does it cover?
It increases the rate of transmission of impulses and protects and insulates the fibers.
Yeah. So it covers
Fibers.
neuron fibers, axons and dendrites. Neuron fibers are dendrites. They're covered, so it's covering neuron
I had Dr. Yay for chemistry. I look good. He's so funny. He always looks, I don't have a robot. It's just, it is so funny. I get that. I'm like, get that.
This can be our model for our class.
Yeah,
We are all in this together. It's not for a lack of effort, a lack of preparation. We are trying to try and improve.
He's like, no, we're not talking.
Really cute though. She doesn't know when to get this book out.
I had to go get one. You need a mama in here. I'm gonna have to stop with a mom. I'm gonna have to make it out.
That's where I learned all this stuff.
I like, what day, baby? In psychology. I don't know. He ever told me. He said, wait, I stayed in I did. I told him that last night. I'm staying on the table today.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna bring up my lighter. Right.
Oh, I know. That's all.
Last night, for some reason it stuck in my head. Your question that you and Raven had, that I remember doing. You know, we were talking about the shoes. The question was about like when they fall, or a thing to prevent falls during a transfer. Shoes are going to help, right? But this is how you know the difference and how you have to start thinking about these questions. When it asks you that, of course your first thing is the shoes. That's common sense. So yes, that is a layer. But when it has gait belts, think about this. If your patient's up, walking in transfer, the shoes are going to help them stay up. But what if they go to fall? Are the shoes going to help prevent them to fall? Is that something you can grab onto? But what can you grab onto? That's why that one was the right answer. I think we got sidetracked in that big finish.
That's why I asked you. Is this more than one?
They're always.
There's
always a good answer, but then there's the best answer.
And I see gate bell in my
You too.
I was going to put it in order.
Yeah, okay. It's invested, we get all our money, and we don't even spread it. Hey, Raven. What's up?
I'm so sick today after this.
I'm so tired.
My brain's fried.
Oh.
Like, it's fried. Yes, it is. It's like,
No, it's not, because I saw everyone else's light bulbs go on that. So I know y'all got a little bit of spark left in you today. I know. Wait till you get to level 4. You are brain dead.
my brain yells fever right now and telling me I'm done.
Raven, I was telling her, y'all were asking about the question about the shoes and the gate belt yesterday, and I got sidetracked and didn't get to finish telling y'all. The reason why the gate belt is correct, the shoes are correct, right? You know that your shoes are going to have you from slipping. But think about, this is how you have to think of the way the nursing questions are. Think in scenarios. But what if that patient fell during that transfer? What am I going to grab onto? His shoes or a gate belt? That's why that was the best answer. The shoes are a good answer, but the best answer would be the gate belt, because the shoes won't protect him from falling completely. The gate belt, you can still grab onto him and keep him from releasing. That's how you got to think of it. But you still should put shoes on everybody's feet. I do. Or the nose kid socks.
I was just holding them like
If you don't have them and you try to lift them, they just slide.
And then they do fall, and they're like, "Why do you have shoes on?"
Yeah.
Because I had a gate belt. Okay, and then I was cleaning up in there because my level 2s left me a hot mess in that lab. I'm going to have to get onto them. They didn't clean up nothing. I went there clean. But remember we were talking about the bone cells, like, to open up the sore calcium. So that's what your, like a very big, enlargement of your bone looks like, okay? And then this one has the osteoblast, which is like a cancerous cell in your bone. But then look at the difference between when you don't have enough calcium in your bones. See how they start getting porous?
You can put a chicken bone in Coke and it'll look like the osteoblast.
Because that's what Cokes do. They're pure acid. So they turn your bones to dust. Yes.
So is it like the disc breaks up and pops out and then it makes it bigger? Okay.
So that's the difference. And then what happens when you fall out?
I seen that with my own eyes. Somebody with osteoporosis. Barely falls down like this in slow motion, shatters her whole shoulder.
Because there's nothing to the throat. It's just the chicken skin, little pieces, glass.
That's what I thought it was gonna be. I thought we were gonna learn. You got 206 bones.
I think it's like 3 days.
If it's free for me, because like I said at the beginning, I go over and basically just pick the terms that are already highlighted. No, they usually has a little bit more involved, and it's situations, like the lady with the shoes and the gate belt. You gotta think, in that situation, in real life, it's going to be different. And always try to go over a review with y'all. Just to kind of start zoning in things. And the more you take them, as I said, don't get started. The more you take them, it'll start making sense. Your brain will something like that. They're automatically No, it's because you're just learning. You're just starting.
We trying to hurry up every time.
Then you're all like, I'm ready.
Starting over.
For real.
Because we're doing this level with Jenny.
And my birthday's on the 4th.
So we get like 2 weeks off and we start back on the 4th.
Usually, I think it's a week. We're going to have to look at this schedule yet, but it's either a week. Sometimes
Where's
it's 2 weeks.
What is it?
Everybody said,
Ours
We're
are
gonna
cake
get a
break.
little break and we start up to 2 weeks of Christmas.
Even on the testing quiz, if you make it below a 75, that's failing, or is it cumulatively?
Yeah, I mean, it goes by overall, but the higher ones, 75 or above, you're going to have a higher copy. All right, so any questions about the peripheral nervous system or any other nervous system, really? So again, let's go over it now. Look how fast you learn this. Brain and spinal cord are in what part? And the spinal cord can do most of the stuff on her own. She's Miss Independent, but then when she gets overloaded, what does she have to do? Send all that information to the brain. So the brain is used for more complex things, where it's too much at one time. Okay? What is it called when I get a sensation in my peripheral nerves and it sends it to the spinal cord? What? Afferent or sensory neuron. What's it called when I send that message back out to that peripheral? Efferent or motor. Making it move. Good. Now, when we were talking about the dog thing, we got down to here and our fight or flight took off and we ran, right? All that adrenaline started kicking in. Okay, we get back in the house, we're safe. That stupid dog's finally gone off after barking at you 30 minutes. But then what's happening? What kicks in? Parasympathetic to slow you back down. Be like, okay, danger's over. I'm good. You can slow down. So you see how that whole thing plays into how your body's going to work? Okay.
You said it releases hormones to bring everything back down?
Yeah, they have different things. Serotonin, something that helps you relax, melatonin, all those natural things that you have in your body. And it tells, and it sends different, those neurotransmitters or those gases, it sends that to tell you to slow down. Okay, spinal cord. This is just extra stuff. It's about 18 inches long and it has two functions mainly. Conducting impulses to and from the brain, because once it comes in, it can usually handle it on its own, but then sometimes it has to send it up, right, to the brain. Okay. And then the knee-jerk reflection is just very easy stuff. Reflexes mostly is what it takes care of. Okay. You have 31 pairs of spinal nerves. Spinal nerves, they come off the spinal cord. 31 pairs. Why is it a pair? Yes, good. When they come off the spine, and then you have 12 pairs of cranial nerves that feed off from the brain, and it goes down into mostly just the head or the face. There's only one cranial nerve that goes out of the head and the face, and it goes down into the abdominal cavity. Anybody know which one it is? There's one cranial nerve, because usually cranial stays in the cranium. But there's one cranial nerve that goes from the cranial cavity down into the abdominal cavity. Vagus. And the odd thing of this is because it's the oddball. It's the one that comes off and goes down into the rest of the body. What usually hangs out in Las Vegas?
Weird.
The oddballs. Oddballs. The oddballs, right? So it's one oddball nerve. So vagus, it's V-A-G-U-S, or vagal. Is the one cranial nerve that goes out into the abdominal cavity. So that's the one that when you're getting nervous, you're antsy, and you feel like you're fluttering in your stomach, that nerve is being stimulated. When you throw up or you have a lot of diarrhea and you feel like you're going to pass out, and sometimes you do pass out, that is your vagal nerve being stimulated because it's going from these organs down here sending a signal back that says, I'm overwhelmed, and it shuts it off, and that's why it's a cranial nerve, so that's why you feel dizzy and weird.
And it's the one nerve that goes to the abdominal cavity.
The one cranial nerve. You have other nerves that go through your whole body, but it's a cranial nerve. It's one of the 12. It's the only one that goes outside of the cranial cavity. Okay? Most of them are in your face, or feeding your brain, and your neck, but it's the one that goes outside of the cranial cavity. If you are into anal sex, that happens. Are you ready?
No, that's on YouTube. That can kill you, can't it?
Yes, that's what
That's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say, don't do it because it'll kill you.
So it is
Never done
vagal
that.
nerve that's being stimulated because it feeds into the bowel. Like I said, if you have too much diarrhea, you feel kind of faint and dizzy and weak. It's the same thing. It's down in that rectal cavity, in that rectal area, and it's overstimulated. Same with anal sex. It's overstimulated, and it lowers your heart rate. And if it's something gets live, because it lowers your heart rate and your blood pressure.
This brings back the question she asked about cornstarch.
Oh my God, we're back to that.
Well, like, it's being stimulated.
Yes,
How
it
do
is.
like how do they not like from
Well, why is it so wide?
What was the question?
They can use lidocaine gel, and not that I know, that's what I know. They use lidocaine gel to numb it up, and then because you get this a lot in emergency rooms, people will come in with foreign objects lodged because that sphincter is super tight. You know, it's what keeps the poop from coming out. Flowing around. So when you relax it, get an object in there, and it says, I've had enough, it sucks back down in there. And it clamps off, and there's nothing getting back out. So that object is stuck in your rectal cavity.
So if you was having anal sex and it locked down on you, y'all both gotta go to the
You disconnect, probably, because it's really hard, but it would hurt. But either way,
She wants to know if you like it, then do your heart rate go back up?
well, it does trigger, it stimulates your vagal nerve, and it can lower your heart rate and cause you to have cardiac arrhythmias. I mean, it is dangerous. And if you already have a weak heart or, you're overstimulating it, it could.
I ain't trying to have no heart attack.
How we have? We just changed the slide. Moving on. Just know that vagal nerve is the one that's outside of the cranium. And then you have the mixed nerves. Those are according to the vertebrae. So, like, if you have your cervical, they come branching off exactly the same as your cervical spine column, your thoracic spine. This is T1, T2, and those nerves are T1 and T2. They're congruent, or they correspond with the spine. He is, yeah. So anyway, just know those. I'm not going to make you know those right now because you'll have to learn them at level 4. But do need to know the vagal nerve. This is the one on top. Okay? That's fine. That one. There's the Vegas. That's how you spell it. These are all on y'all's
If it's not gonna break, God can't say.
yeah, it's on there.
So these laws are all regular?
Yeah. Under class handout.
This wasn't on there.
Okay, I'll put it on there now. But just know, like I said, that you have lots of nerves, but the main one I want you to know right now is the vagal nerve, and then the rest just understand. Yeah, y'all won't ever forget that one. So just know that a big toe back there, he's got that one figured out. So just know that those are what it's
I
doing.
just know that one, you didn't even know what the other one was.
Oh yeah, you don't know what a hootenanny is. Okay. Alright. And the vagal nerve is one that goes into the thoracic because it controls your heart rate, and then into the abdominal too. So just know that one. Mainly because, like I said, it could be dangerous if it's overstimulated of any kind. Like let's say we're giving us a patient an enema, and we're ramming, and we gotta hurry up and get this done, and we're in there for 20 or 30 minutes. We're overstimulating that vagal nerve, and so you need to be monitoring that patient's heart rate. Because if they're a little elderly, you want to watch their heart rate. It may already drop on you. Or
We had a man that died from that. That's how come I knew, because he was pooping, and we went in there, and he was on the
yes,
toilet.
and I was going to get to that too. That that's how Elvis died. He was,
Elvis
Elvis was having a bowel movement on his mode, bring them in there.
Well, my son
Yeah.
was born there.
So take eat your fiber.
Because I had somebody like that. That happened years ago.
No, but I had just given it meds and they came in there. I'm like, what you do?
So from a nursing standpoint, that's why I want you to know that one because it controls your heart rate and blood pressure. And if you're overstimulating patients with a procedure or they're overstimulating themselves with a bowel movement, you need to be watching their heart rate and their blood pressure. Okay? Okay, and then we already talked about this, fight or flight, and then the other one is rest and digest it. Now I can rest and now I can eat because I'm out of danger. The dog ain't getting my sandwich. Okay. Does that make sense, everybody? And remember I had all the strings out. It's an all or none law. All of those messages are going to come all the way to where their target is, or they won't ever leave or come out. They don't get halfway and say, never mind. They just sit there. Stay all the way, or they never leave at all.
Miss Dawn, I have another question referring to anal sex. What? Okay, if a man is having anal sex with a woman and she cold and died, is that murder?
I guess it depends on the size of the weapon. I don't know. I don't know. Was it intentional or premeditated or I don't know. It's a good question. I'll ask my co-workers see what they think. Okay. My bad.
You're going to put this one on there, though, right? Okay.
I thought it was. I'll put it on there.
You just can't go in there.
Because I gotta pay attention.
I can't.
Right.
Gosh, remember Hershey My Way still in what?
When you like touch something right now, but it doesn't really hurt, you hit something and you say, ouch, it doesn't really hurt.
It's a condition. I think that's a condition response.
Do you know the psychology?
I know, right? You know how little kids
Of remember.
I know, right? Oh, did that hurt? Oh. We're teaching them to go, ow. Or if they go, oh, I gotta teach it. They're going, ow, ow, ow. Like, reading it all after they do that. Okay, I think that's as far as y'all had to go on that. Y'all don't have the other. But just remember, the little elderly, as far as nursing considerations, what we're taking for a little elderly, they don't feel as good neuro-wise. They don't have as good sensation. And how fast is their reflexes? You can tell them, honey, don't you feel your hand being closed in that drawer? Move your hand. Like, they don't even feel it sometimes. Or it takes them, you see that they're getting hurt, and you're like, oh my gosh, and it takes them a minute to pull their hand back away. Their reflexes are a lot slower because those little neurons that are going back and forth, instead of going like warp speed, they're dialed up.
My husband has no feel in his feet.
Adrenaline has a lot to do with it.
Yes, adrenaline speeds you up big time. So if you have more of it, you're always.
Like after the fight, you don't feel the effects of the fight until after.
That's why when you're running, like a runner, they get that runner's high because your body is under stress, so it kicks out those neurotransmitters that helps you continue till you get where you're going because that's an innate response. Your body thinks, oh, there's something chasing me, so it keeps going. And so it kicks out that stuff so you can keep going and get away. But that's what it is, that we're taking advantage of our nature by
You don't never really feel the pain
Never
of the
feel it.
sports till after your
your
body
endorphins,
calms down.
right? Your endorphins kick in. All right. So just remember that little elderlies, they don't age good. They're not gonna feel as good. They're not gonna have the quick reflexes. So you have to be patient with them and just try not to rush them because they truly, their message isn't getting to their brain fast as ours. It just takes a minute. So be patient.
You want us to know any of the lobes and what they do? Because it's in between those stages.
We'll get to it.
Oh.
All right, so neurons are the ones that are, like I said, the nerve cells of the nervous system. Now, the peripheral, all of y'all that were out here holding this ring, your peripheral, you can regenerate. You have something that helps you heal. They're called neurolemas, and then they're Schwann cells. They're by Schwann cells. All right, I'll listen to more for you in a second. But the brain and spinal cord do not have that. Their central nervous system, they do not have the power to regenerate. So what happens if, let's say, I cut my big toe on something, and now it hurts for a while, but it's starting to heal. Can I, after it's healed, a week or two after it's healed, can I still feel that toe? Yes. My nerves have regenerated, just like a lizard. You cut its tail, it regenerates, it regrows. So the peripheral nerves can regenerate. What happens if I have a brain or spinal cord injury where I sever that? Is that going to regenerate? No. They do not regenerate. That's where we get paralysis from.
What about like burning victims?
It depends on how deep, but because usually the burn is cauterizing it. So it cuts off or burns off that sensation, that area that can regenerate. Remember we were talking about the cells and how they reproduce? If you burn something, it sears it, and so that it never is able to regenerate. So that may be why some of them can't regrow the skin is because of the burn, the heat, whatever it was that just cauterized it. But as far as an injury like a puncture wound or a cut or something like that, surgery, you're going to regenerate in the peripheral. The brain and spinal cord do not regenerate, and that's why we have paralysis. Okay? So, know that, because I'll probably say, this patient had an injury to the brain and spinal cord. He asks you as the nurse, will I ever get sensation back? No, you won't. But let's say he had it to his left foot. Will I ever get sensation back? Chances are yes. Okay? Because the nurse knows that peripheral regenerates. Central nervous system does not. Okay? Schwann cells, this is how you spell this one. And I don't know what page it's on. Does anybody see it yet? Schwann cells. They're the kind of cells that produce the myelin. They make myelin, which is, remember that white waxy stuff that I told y'all? Like the insulation?
That's 1897.
Okay, thank you. So they are those cells that produce the myelin, which is our insulation around our nerves that we need for protection, right?
You said 1895?
1897.
Can I erase this graph now? We didn't give him a hearing aid. You need to steal one of your patient's hearing aids and bring it to class. Turn it up for him.
Big hard.
So here's your neuron right in the middle, your little basic cell. Alright? And then you have that little, let's say this is a nerve, one of those strings. And I'm cutting it in half so we can look at it and see what's in it. So then you've got this myelin sheath layer, our insulation, right? Our white waxy insulation, myelin sheath. And then around that you have another layer, because these are made of Schwann cells. Okay. And then around that layer, they're pretty protected, aren't they? So it's kind of important, right? So this is a layer. So you've got this layer here, a little cord, and you've got a layer right here, circling around it to protect it. And then around that is a third layer. And the third layer is the neurolemas. The neurolemas are cells that help regenerate in our peripheral. So they help regrow our peripheral nerves.
Okay, so that's the outside, and then the myelin sheath is inside that, between that and the neuron?
Yeah, there's a neuron, and then there's a layer surrounding that neuron, a myelin sheath.
Okay.
I need a different color on my so it'll show up better. Okay, thanks. And then you have that third layer around it. Like I said, these are just layers of insulation, just like the rings on a tree. If you cut a tree and you can see the rings of it.
The Swanson is the second layer?
Yep. It's a myelin sheath, which is made up of Schwann cells. It's just a bunch of Schwann cells connected. holding hands, circling it, making an island sheet. And then you have the layer of neurolimas, which help regrow if you get injured. Help the nerve regrow if you get injured. In which system? Peripheral. Good. Okay.
And so the other one was in the central, this top one. All right.
They're all, those are nerve cells. But the peripheral are the only ones that can regrow. So that's why they are the only ones that have the neural lima.
CNS result in permanent damage. Cells damage in the CNS are permanent damage.
And the ones that, so that's why if you get a spinal cord injury or brain injury, those don't regenerate. They'll get back to where the way you were. If they're damaged, they're not going to regrow. Only the ones out in the peripheral. Okay. So I'll put that chapter on your grade book. Thank you. We kind of talked about the cells of the nervous system, the central nervous system, peripheral effects of normal aging. Just has everything slowed down because that's just aging process. Things don't work as fast, so you need to be more cautious, careful, and patient with your elderly. Okay. Some of the ways it says on your syllabus of prevention of neurological problems. Neurological is like if you brain or spinal cord injury. What are some of the ways you can tell your patient teaching ways to prevent getting a head injury? Wear a helmet. Good. Is Texas a no helmet state? So guess how many head injuries we have? Tons per year. And so what else? What's something else we do to protect our head?
Sunscreen for multiple.
Well, we're talking about brain.
Oh,
Yeah, illicit drug use. What
Wear
about
your
wearing?
seatbelt.
Thank you. I was going to say that. Gals? Gals forgot it. She's eating y'all up today back here. So, wear your seatbelt, right? Because if you're in a car accident, don't you have a high risk of getting a head injury or a spinal cord injury? You get whiplash or snap your neck or something like that. What else?
No diving.
Good. You found it in the book, didn't you? So I was like, wow. Yeah, no diving in a swimming pool. You can dive, but what do you need to do? Right? Put their head down. Yeah. Are we a big firearm state? David. So, how many injuries do we have from accidental shootings? Or unaccidental. So, yeah, those are just things you want to talk. They're really common sense, but when you're doing patient teaching on preventing head injuries, spinal cord injuries, for sure, you want to make sure you tell them to wear a seatbelt, protect your gear. What about in sports?
Football.
Can you wear your helmet or do they care to wear your helmet? Yeah, you have to wear your helmet. There's a huge push on concussion recognition in sports for coaches. They have to take all those. Players have to take those courses. Nurses have to, and then
Get this side of
the
the
family and parents, because once the game is over, where do they go? Home. And so who needs to know if their kid has a concussion in the line? Who needs to recognize that?
Yeah, we have to sign papers of release and that we know the signs and symptoms.
Right. So those are some extra things just as from a nurse standpoint you need to do.
Man, I bought came in for like 37 and a half seconds.
Yeah. You're on the clock right now. Go.
Came back
I
home.
can't walk
If you take that file with you too, Joey,
Well,
bring it. You brought him in here. Get rid of it.
Yeah.
So just think about that because that might be a question
Oh, I got a
too.
good one. Boxing.
Yes. That's a huge Ladina was asking about the parts of the brain and stuff. On page 1898, there's a picture of the brain, like all the different parts. I'm not going to extensively ask you about all those because it kind of gets bogged down, but I want you to do, kind of understand what they do. Like on that box 53-1, frontal lobe, that's where it tells you what is affected there, what the frontal lobe functions are. Parietal, temporal, and occipital. You probably need to know that because depending on where your patient has a stroke and what part of their brain, I would ask you symptoms like your patient comes in with, let's say, slurred speech, difficulty writing, unable to move one side of the body. They've had a stroke. What part of the brain is affected? Frontal. So that's why you need to know those because they're clues into which area of the brain is injured. Okay. So just know that box on page 1899. And then for the brain itself, there's a. Let's see. I think it tells you just a little bit about each part. So just kind of know those basic. I'm not going to get extensive into it because I'm not a brain surgeon. I don't want you all to know that. I just want you to know what the terminology is, so you recognize if you see that. If you see medulla oblongata, you know that's part of the brain, right? If you see pons different, okay, that's part of the brain. So that way you can pick that question apart and know what it does. There's one that controls the body temp. So think of like hypothalamus. We'll get into more of that into the brain itself when we do endocrine because a lot of it is controlled by the glands and stuff in the brain. Okay. Pituitary's the master gland. Hypothalamus, I think, is what controls body temp. All right. Any questions on that? I did really good today.
Oh, thank you for being frank. So did I have a quiz on this?
No, because y'all had that page.
So what do we have to quiz about?
That's
The
what
next chapter 4. Week 4.
Week
Somebody
4.
who know what we're supposed to be doing.
The musculoskeletal system. So it's only going to be your quiz for next week will be on pages 1335 and 1337. That's pretty easy. 2 pages. That ought to be an automatic A for everybody. Pull it up. Here you go. Take your hand at it.
Who's this? What?
Huh?
What is on Monday?
A&P is on Tuesday.
Tuesday.
1337. And guess what else is due next week? Group project. 13:30. Are we going to do a project on Tuesday or Friday? We're going to come in and do our quiz, and then I'm going to lecture because I'm going to get your lecture in.